5 ways to handle people who don't respect you. Have you ever felt disrespected, ignored, or undervalued? No matter how kind or patient you were, you're not alone. In a world where people often mistake kindness for weakness, knowing how to handle disrespect with strength and grace is essential. Today, we're diving into 5 powerful ways to deal with people who don't respect you. Tactics inspired by former Secret Service agent and human behavior expert, Evy Poumpouras. These are not about fighting back or seeking revenge. They're about standing tall, setting boundaries, and mastering emotional control so you never lose your power again. Get ready to learn how to command respect without saying a word. 1. Set boundaries without apology. One of the most powerful lessons Evy Poumpouras teaches about earning respect is this: people treat you the way you allow them to. Every relationship you have, personal, professional, or casual, is shaped by the standards you set. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out, they are guidelines that teach people how to treat you. Too often, when someone disrespects us, we hesitate to speak up. We worry about sounding rude, offending others, or losing their approval. But here's the truth: when you stay silent about your limits, you silently approve their behavior. Respect begins with how you respect yourself. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to shout, argue, or over-explain. It's about being calm, clear, and consistent. When someone crosses the line, you don't need to justify your feelings, you just need to express them confidently. For example, if a colleague talks over you during meetings, say, "I wasn't finished speaking. Please let me complete my point." That's not confrontation, that's communication. It's firm, direct, and controlled. The more you do this, the more people recognize that you are not someone who can be dismissed or dominated. Evy Poumpouras emphasizes that real strength is quiet. It's not about how loud you can be, it's about how clear your message is. When you set boundaries, you're not pushing people away, you're protecting your mental space, your energy, and your peace. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you teach others that it's acceptable. Every time you speak up, you teach them how to respect you. Remember, this setting boundaries is not selfish, it's self-preservation. But many people struggle here because they fear rejection. They think, if I speak up, they'll think I'm difficult. Yet the opposite is true. The people who truly value you will respect you more for standing up for yourself. And those who don't, they were never on your side to begin with. Boundaries help reveal who belongs in your life and who only benefits from your silence. You don't owe anyone constant access to your time, your emotions, or your energy. You get to decide who earns a seat at your table. Another key part of boundary setting is follow-through. If someone repeatedly disrespects your limits and you keep forgiving without consequence, you're not setting boundaries. You're giving permission. The power of a boundary lies in its enforcement. If someone keeps interrupting, you end the conversation. If they mock or belittle you, you step away. If they violate your trust, you stop confiding in them. Each action teaches people what will and will not be tolerated. Boundaries are also internal. They begin with self-discipline. You can't expect others to respect you if you don't respect your own time and values. That means saying no when something doesn't align with your goals, even if it disappoints others. It means prioritizing your peace over people-pleasing. It means understanding that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. When you set boundaries without apology, you're telling the world, I know my worth, and I will protect it. You're shifting from being reactive to being intentional. People may not like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from your lack of them. That's okay. Boundaries are not meant to make others comfortable, they're meant to keep you safe. Evy Poumpouras once said that confidence isn't about arrogance, it's about awareness. When you're aware of your value, you stop explaining it to those who refuse to see it. So, the next time someone disrespects you, pause, breathe, and respond with calm firmness. Don't yell. Don't chase. Don't justify. Simply state your boundary and walk in it. Because when you respect yourself enough to draw the line, you no longer have to demand respect. It naturally follows you. Boundaries don't push people away, they filter out those who were never meant to stay. 2. Don't engage emotionally. One of the greatest signs of strength is emotional control. Evy Poumpouras often reminds us that power doesn't belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the calmest. When someone disrespects you, provokes you, or tries to make you feel small, their goal is simple: they want to control your reaction. The moment you explode in anger, defend yourself too much, or show visible frustration, you hand them the very control they wanted. Emotional engagement is their weapon. Emotional detachment is your shield. The people who know how to remain calm when others lose control always come out on top. When disrespect happens, your natural instinct is to fight back, to explain, to demand fairness. But reacting emotionally often strengthens the very behavior you're trying to stop. Disrespectful people feed off reactions. It validates their sense of dominance. When you stay calm, they lose the power to manipulate your emotions. Silence and composure are not signs of weakness, they're signs of mastery. Imagine someone throwing insults your way, expecting you to break down or lash out. Instead, you look at them, unbothered, unshaken, and say nothing. That silence unsettles them more than any argument could. Evy Poumpouras learned through her years of training in the Secret Service that emotional discipline saves lives, not just reputations. She faced high-pressure situations, life-and-death moments, and still had to stay focused and centered. If she could remain calm under that kind of stress, we can apply the same principle to everyday disrespect. The key is to detach emotionally from the behavior, not from the lesson. You can observe what's happening, process it logically, and then decide your next move with clarity. When you don't engage emotionally, you shift from being reactive to being strategic. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend things don't hurt. It means you acknowledge your emotions privately, but you don't let them control your public response. People who disrespect you often want to see you lose composure. They want to confirm that they can control your peace. When you don't give them that satisfaction, they're left powerless. They realize that your calmness is not indifference, it's strength. The louder they get, the quieter you become. The more chaotic they act, the more grounded you remain. That's emotional dominance. Evy often says that composure is a superpower. It commands respect without demanding it. Think about this: when you remain calm during an argument, people may forget what was said, but they'll never forget how controlled you were. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability is intimidating to those who thrive on reaction. It forces them to face themselves instead of deflecting onto you. When you don't match their energy, they have nowhere to direct their chaos but inward. Another benefit of not engaging emotionally is clarity. When you're angry or defensive, you see through a fog. But when you stay calm, you can assess who you're dealing with. Is this person worth your time? Is their behavior fixable, or is it a reflection of their own insecurity? Calmness allows you to make logical decisions instead of emotional ones. You can decide whether to respond, walk away, or set new boundaries, all without losing your center. The truth is, your emotions are your responsibility. Nobody else should have that much control over them. When someone can easily upset you, they own you emotionally. But when you stay calm, you own yourself. Emotional control doesn't mean being cold or detached. It means being selective about where you invest your energy. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this rule: control your emotions, or they will control you. Take a breath before responding, speak slowly, or say nothing at all. The silence of a calm person can be deafening to someone who expected chaos. You'll notice that the more peaceful you become, the less people can manipulate you. Emotional detachment is not about being heartless. It's about being unbreakable. Because when you master your emotions, you master every situation. 3. Use confidence, not aggression. Confidence is quiet power. Aggression is noise. One demands respect, the other begs for it. Evy Poumpouras teaches that confidence isn't about being loud, dominant, or intimidating. It's about knowing who you are and standing firm in that truth, no matter who questions it. People often mistake confidence for arrogance, but true confidence comes from self-awareness, not ego. It's the calm certainty that you are enough, that you don't need to raise your voice to be heard, and that you don't have to prove your worth to anyone who doubts it. When you operate from that place of quiet strength, People feel it before you even speak. Aggression, on the other hand, is rooted in insecurity. It's the need to control, to dominate, or to mask fear. When someone disrespects you, aggression might feel like the quickest path to self-defense, but it rarely earns genuine respect. It creates resistance, not recognition. Confidence, however, speaks a different language. It says, I see what you're doing, but I won't lower myself to your level. When you respond with calm authority instead of anger, you shift the balance of power. You show that your emotions don't control you, you control them. That's real strength. Evy Poumpouras often draws on her experiences as a Secret Service agent, where she had to command attention and authority in rooms full of powerful people. Without ever showing fear or hostility, she didn't need to be aggressive. Her presence alone spoke for her. That's what true confidence does. It fills the space around you quietly but powerfully. It's in your body language, your tone, and your eyes. Stand tall, shoulders back, speak clearly and slowly. Maintain eye contact, not to challenge, but to connect. Confidence is energy. It communicates even before your words do. The difference between confidence and aggression lies in control. Aggression is reactive. It's about overpowering others to feel strong. Confidence is proactive. It's about mastering yourself to stay grounded. When someone challenges you, a confident person doesn't need to argue endlessly to win. They don't need to prove who's right. They simply state their truth once and let their consistency speak louder than any debate ever could. That calm steadiness is magnetic. People are drawn to those who seem unshaken by chaos. Confidence also comes from preparation and purpose. When you know your values, your goals, and your boundaries, you stop second-guessing yourself. You move with clarity. Evy Poumpouras often says that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, even in small ways, you reinforce your inner trust. That trust becomes your armor. You no longer need to shout to be seen or fight to be heard. You simply are. But let's be clear, confidence doesn't mean being emotionless or robotic. It means being balanced. You can express frustration without aggression, you can assert boundaries without hostility, and you can disagree without disrespect. People who master this balance command immense respect because they bring control, not chaos, into every situation. They're the calm in the storm. When someone disrespects you, don't fight for dominance. Stand in your dignity. Don't let their lack of control pull you into the same energy. Aggression says, I want to win. Confidence says, I've already won because I'm not losing myself over this. The more you choose calm over conflict, the more your strength becomes undeniable. Even those who dislike you will respect your composure. Evy often reminds us that confidence is built in silence. It's in how you talk to yourself, how you handle rejection, and how you carry yourself after failure. You can't fake it. It comes from consistency, integrity, and inner peace. So, practice stillness, practice self-assurance. Every time you remain calm in a disrespectful situation, you're proving to yourself that you've grown beyond the need to react. At the end of the day, confidence is not about showing others who's boss. It's about showing yourself that you are in control. Aggression burns bridges, confidence builds presence. Aggression demands attention, confidence commands it naturally. You don't have to roar to show you're powerful. Sometimes, your calmness is the loudest thing in the room. Remember this: lions don't need to tell others they're lions. Their silence speaks for them. 4. Don't chase validation. One of the biggest traps people fall into is trying to earn respect and validation from those who will never give it. Evy Poumpouras often emphasizes that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see it. The more you chase validation, the more power you give away. You start molding yourself to fit someone else's standards, adjusting your behavior, tone, and decisions just to be accepted. But the truth is, validation seeking is emotional slavery. When your worth depends on someone else's approval, you'll always feel like you're not enough. Real confidence begins when you stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I respect myself? We all crave recognition. It's human nature. But there's a fine line between appreciation and dependency. When you constantly look for reassurance, you start living through other people's perceptions. You start editing yourself to earn acceptance, avoiding conflict to stay liked, and sacrificing your peace to feel worthy. Evy Poumpouras teaches that true respect is never negotiated, it's earned through authenticity. When you stop chasing validation, you give yourself permission to be real, even if that means not everyone will approve. And that's freedom, because approval can be taken away, but self-respect cannot. Validation chasing is often rooted in fear, the fear of rejection, judgment, or being misunderstood. You start thinking that your value is conditional, that you have to do more or be more to deserve love or respect. But here's the truth. No amount of external validation can fill the void of internal doubt. You can receive endless praise and still feel empty if you don't believe in yourself. That's why Evie often says that your greatest power lies in self-validation. It means learning to say, I am proud of myself, even when no one else notices your effort. It's learning to clap for yourself in silence. When people disrespect you, it's easy to think, if I just prove myself, they'll finally respect me. But that's a dangerous illusion. Disrespect doesn't come from misunderstanding. It comes from a lack of character. And no matter how much you try to please someone with poor character, they'll always find a reason to devalue you. The best way to deal with such people is not to work harder for their respect, but to withdraw your need for their approval entirely. When you stop seeking validation, you become untouchable. You stop playing their game. Evy Poumpouras reminds us that powerful people don't explain themselves constantly. They demonstrate their worth through action, not approval. Think about it. When you know your capabilities, you don't need to announce them. When you know your values, you don't need to justify them. Validation is temporary. Integrity is permanent. Every time you stand firm in your truth, you reinforce your self-respect. People may not always agree with you, but they'll sense your conviction, and that naturally commands respect. Another key aspect of self-validation is emotional independence. When your happiness is tied to someone else's opinion, you lose control over your peace. Evie teaches that emotional discipline means knowing how to support yourself internally when the world fails to do so externally. It's about learning to find pride in your growth, not in your praise. You start asking yourself, am I becoming the kind of person I would admire? When the answer is yes, external opinions stop mattering. You no longer chase validation. You attract respect effortlessly. When you live for validation, your worth fluctuates with every compliment and every criticism. But when you live from self-respect, you stay grounded no matter what people say. People who can't control you emotionally will try to manipulate you psychologically. That's why detachment from approval is such a powerful form of freedom. You stop reacting to opinions and start responding from clarity. You stop performing for acceptance and start living in alignment. So, the next time someone disrespects you, resist the urge to prove yourself. You don't need to explain, justify, or seek acknowledgement. Simply remind yourself, I don't need their validation to know my worth. Confidence built on validation is fragile. Confidence built on self-respect is unshakable. The moment you stop chasing external approval, you step into your true power, the kind that can't be taken away. Because the day you no longer need others to believe in you is the day you truly start believing in yourself. 5. Walk away. When necessary, one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is knowing when to walk away. It feels counterintuitive, especially when you've invested time, energy, and emotion into someone or something. You keep hoping that people will change, that they'll realize your value, or that they'll finally treat you with the respect you deserve. But as Evy Poumpouras wisely reminds us, self-respect means knowing when to leave the table if respect is no longer being served. Walking away isn't about giving up, it's about choosing peace over chaos, dignity over drama, and self-worth over approval. There comes a point when staying is no longer strength, it's self-betrayal. Many people misunderstand walking away. They think it's an act of weakness, avoidance, or fear. But in truth, it's the purest form of power. Anyone can argue, fight, or beg for recognition, but it takes real strength to quietly step back and say, I'm done. You see, when you walk away, you're not losing anything of real value. You're simply making space for the right energy, the right people, and the right opportunities. Holding on to toxic relationships or disrespectful dynamics doesn't preserve your worth, it drains it. Evy often says that your presence is your power, and you must learn to withdraw that presence when it's not appreciated. Walking away is not always physical, it's emotional too. You can detach mentally long before you physically leave. It's the moment you stop trying to prove yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. It's when you no longer explain your boundaries to someone who refuses to respect them. Emotional detachment is freedom. It means you no longer take things personally because you've realized that people's actions reflect their character, not your value. When you walk away emotionally, their disrespect no longer has power over your peace. But walking away doesn't happen overnight. It requires courage, because you must face the discomfort of letting go. Sometimes, you'll question yourself. What if I'm overreacting? What if they'll change? Yet deep down, your intuition knows when it's time. The same voice that tells you something feels wrong is the one that will guide you out of it. Trust it. Evy Poumpouras often emphasizes the importance of intuition in self-protection. It's your internal alarm system. When you feel drained, anxious, or belittled in someone's presence, that's your signal. You don't have to wait for things to get worse to justify leaving. You're allowed to protect your peace early. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about yourself more. It's the act of reclaiming your time and energy from people who waste it. It's the decision to stop chasing closure from those who thrive on keeping you confused. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create by choosing to move on. The moment you decide that your peace matters more than their approval, you reclaim your power. Evy Poumpouras' lessons remind us that power isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself, your reactions, and your direction. When you finally walk away, the silence that follows can be uncomfortable, but it's also sacred. It's the silence of healing, of rediscovery, of strength returning to your soul. You start realizing how much mental space that person or situation occupied. You start sleeping better, thinking clearer, and feeling lighter. That's the reward of choosing yourself. People who truly respect you will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. And those who do, deserve to lose access to you. The truth is, you can't force respect from others, but you can command it through your choices. Walking away sends a message that words never could. I know my value, and I refuse to be where it's not recognized. It's not about punishing others, it's about honoring yourself. Life becomes peaceful when you stop trying to prove anything to anyone and start protecting your inner world. Evy Poumpouras once said that strength isn't about being unbreakable, it's about knowing when to step back, reset, and rise again stronger. So, when respect fades, when your boundaries are ignored, when your soul feels heavy, have the courage to walk away. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all.